record at home nowadays?
0-290. What they never win. They don't.
What was the last big game A&M won?
They won the overtime.
Well, they beat Alabama in Alabama
They
that
won.
time
They
with
won
Johnny
the.
Manziel.
They won the LSU overtime.
But I'm talking about. We brag about Kyle Field like 12th man.
Never.
Fair.
Never. Like no.
Welcome to the Too Much Dip podcast. My name is David. We have got a very, very fun and a very, very sad podcast ahead of us today. We're going to get through it together. Dillon and I, he's actually sitting in my lap as we do this. We've been close all day. Joining me in studio and on my lap, like I just said, is Dillon, shivery.
Hi, Dave.
Hi. Hey,
Thanks
buddy.
for comforting me, consoling me. No, it was a tough weekend. It was a tough weekend. It was tough. My teams are down 3 quarterbacks total right now. I had 2 teams down 3 quarterbacks. Kind of hard to do.
Couldn't be me. I've got like 5.
Kind of hard to do. But I'm here. And I'm ready to talk about it. And that's all I really want to say at this point.
Well, I think I know somebody who has a little something else to say. And he's our good friend KJ Ellis, live from Wisconsin.
Dillon, I'm happy to be here with you. I decided to preemptively match our clothes today. I actually have my Roback hat here with me too. I had the full long sleeve gray shirt and a Roback hat. I was messing up my lighting, so I went without it. But just as a show of support, I knew it was a tough weekend for you. Who was the third quarterback? I don't mean to belabor, but who am I forgetting?
Hudson Card is apparently out this week.
Of course, for the folks at home who don't know, Hudson Card is the backup to Quinn Ewers at the University of Texas.
I tweeted during the game, kind of frustratingly, that Alabama can't beat Texas without knocking out its quarterback in the first quarter. I later followed that up with Alabama beat Texas by 1 while Texas was down 1.5 quarterbacks. That half was Hudson Card, who was on one leg at the time. Turns out he has a high ankle sprain.
Those are the bad ones.
And does not look good moving forward.
Let me tell you this, Dillon. I was told this a long time ago, and it's something that I think about often. That's just the way the cards fall sometimes.
I don't have anything.
Okay. Fair enough, Dave. Yeah, look, we'll get to it. I'm sure it just wasn't a great weekend for me.
Let the record show that the soundboard, the Roadcaster, was still encircling backdrops. So I think I just played the I'm trying to bust, I'm trying to come, Jessica Simpson.
You did.
So
It always plays, though.
doesn't matter. No matter what scenario, there's a way to spin that to where it fits.
Yeah.
I guess my only thought on it is at least they have Caleb Williams and Jaquindon to rely on, right?
Jaquindon averaging 15 yards a carry in Utah.
Is he? How many carries?
2.
Okay. That's
He got in. They absolutely obliterated Utah State, I believe it was. Absolutely ran.
Southern Utah, I think.
Southern Utah, 73 points. A little bit unbecoming of our friends in Utah, but that's fine.
Not to derail, but I believe Southern Utah is now Southern Utah because they were formerly Dixie State University.
That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. What?
Nope. That is one of those things that I probably would have assumed was a glitch if I was just like clicking around on NCAA football, and they're like pin mapping where the schools are as you select them. They've got Dixie State located in Ogden, Utah, or wherever it is near the border, and or Logan. Yeah, I didn't get that, but that's been their name. Anyhow,
I got a little bit of I've got an anecdote about that. I actually out of high school, I had a few offers for golf.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
One of them was actually at Dick State.
Really? Where is Dick State?
It's also in Utah,
Okay.
which is coincidental.
Why didn't you go? Did you do it?
It's too far from home.
Did you tour campus or anything?
I did.
Official visit?
Yeah, I spent
Okay.
a lot of time there.
Really?
Yeah, it's a great, beautiful campus. It's elevation.
Rock
Yeah.
formations everywhere.
You can hit the ball farther up there.
You can, dude. You should
Yeah.
have seen I was carrying it like 260.
That's awesome.
It was pretty good for a high school player.
Yeah, it's pretty good, man.
Anyway, it didn't end up going. The rest
We can
is
hear
history.
more about the recruiting pitches from Dick State.
You decided to frat instead.
Yeah,
Okay.
I did.
I respect
They didn't
it.
have a good Greek program.
Okay.
Had a hazing problem. A bunch of them got kicked off.
Damn.
It's fucked up. A couple kids died.
Any,
Anyway,
can we tell the good people where to find us on Thursdays? Because if they weren't with us last Thursday with the great Pete Blackburn,
Ooh.
they missed one of the all-time worst picking jobs by one of the three of us. And somebody's on a little hot streak to start.
hey, by the way, you gave Dillon the W on that Rams game. You probably heard about it by now.
I fixed it.
I didn't want to say
I
anything.
haven't, but I
was
fixed
hoping-
it. I
was
fixed
hoping
it.
it was going to slide through, but
a lot of people upset about that in the DMs. They're like, "Hey, don't give
I-
that fucker credit." That's what they said exactly.
Not a good week. Not a good week of picking for your boy.
That's not good for me either. I think I might have beat you in the bad.
I got the big
category.
boy stack though, bitch.
Yeah, I did not. Thanks, Mac Brown. That was a fun live stream. One of our best. I was a little worried because we hadn't done it in a while coming out of the gate, but we were hot. Pete's just a pro. We had Barrett on circling back today. Barrett's a pro. Those guys are just pro broadcasters. I could learn from them. I won't, but I could.
Yeah. Just be who you are, Dave.
I'm just going to be the very mid podcaster you all know and love. Anyway,
YouTube.com/toomuchdip. Thursday night, 6:30. Before this week's game, I believe, is Kansas City and the Chargers. And this will actually be the first Amazon Prime game. I guess somehow NBC had last week's, and that threw me off. But we will get Herb Street and Al Michaels Thursday night.
find out if my take that San Diego will be taking or LA Chargers will be taking a step back this year rings true. Or will that be the worst take of the year? I think it's more the latter, but we'll find out. We will find out. So Dillon's got a tiny TV.
Oh, I don't know if that's true. Look,
That was the takeaway from Thursday night.
Yeah, this is a Dillon heavy segment right here.
my TV that you saw on the live stream, and I took a little video of myself actually measuring the TV that I will pull out when appropriate. That sounds weird.
Sure.
Measurement?
Never appropriate, sir.
So that is an office / kids playroom.
Jeez, how many square feet is that
The
room?
whole room is about 12 by 12. It's not big. The TV is 42 inches, which feels very appropriate for the size of the room. 42 inches. You know, these cameras can play tricks. It looks very tiny. It's not. It's very suitable.
Some people were saying you had just mounted an iPad.
Right.
Is that true?
I don't know of any 42-inch iPads, but if there were, then that would make much
Surely
more sense.
someone's got one.
Yeah. But really, this segment is actually called "All of Dillon's Quarterbacks Are Broken."
Did you watch your quarterbacks get broken on that 42-inch TV?
No, I watched them on my. Not to brag, we got a 65 in the living room.
Jeez, what'd that set you back?
It was reasonably priced. I dropped the last one, if you recall, shattered it. I had to purchase a new one, which set me back however much 65-inch TVs cost.
What did you do with the shattered TV? What does one do?
Actually, a listener reached out and says, "Hey, I live near you and I recycle electronics." So he came and picked it up. It was great.
That's awesome.
I was gonna just toss it to a dumpster. I don't know. What do you do with TVs?
Oh, no.
Why?
Don't publicly tell people that.
Oh,
I had to go
I'm
sit in a line, like apparently flat screen TVs, amongst other like large electronics. Madison, much like Austin, has very, I would say, progressive thoughts when it comes to like recycling and whatnot. Like if I were to like leave my TV, because as I mentioned, similarly, I'm broke in the move. If I would have left it on the curb, it would hit me with like $100 fine or some ridiculous thing like
What?
that, trying to throw it in the trash. Like you have to take it to a place to get recycled.
Huh. Did not know. Anyway,
How do you feel about it now, buddy?
it? Was properly recycled, like I said. Thanks
Huh.
to
So
a
shouts
very
to that
kind.
backer.
Thanks to a very kind listener of ours.
Ooh, what if instead of recycling it, he just got the hard drive and extrapolated all your data?
I don't know how much data is actually kept on a television.
You'd be surprised, buddy.
Okay, maybe he did, and that's okay. I'm all right with that.
So anyway, what up with your quarterbacks?
Are we just gonna get right into the Texas game? I mean, how are we doing this? Because I got a
Yeah,
lot
let's
to
get that out of
say.
the way if nothing else.
Okay.
Texas, Alabama.
Texas, Alabama. The line moved all the way up to 21.5 before kickoff.
Turns out I was way off.
And as I stated on Circling Back, my dear friend Darren Ravel tweeted that around 90%, 85 to 90% of money on all platforms was on Alabama to cover the 21.5 points. Leading up to the game, I got some sneaky confidence in Texas, probably just due to the excitement of the game.
You were horny for sports.
I was horny for sports. And look, Texas absolutely balled out. I don't think anyone saw that game coming. The Texas defense that was abysmal last year. I mean, just downright terrible. We know what happened at home against Kansas. Just a terrible defense. I don't know if Gary Patterson or just some fresh meat coming in. I don't know what it is, man.
Same thing.
Defense absolutely balled out. Very impressed. A lot of good to take away from the game. A lot of good. You lose to number 1 Alabama by one single point on a last second field goal. That's something to hang your hat on. That's impressive. Actually, Texas moved into the top 25 after this loss, which is kind of wild.
That is wild.
A lot to take away from it. Again, the defense, incredible. Don't know where that came from. Quinn Ewers, quarter 1, was dicing the Alabama defense. He looked so good.
He delivered.
He threw for 130 yards in the first quarter, and that's while 2 deep passes, one of them I think Worthy just kind of lost. He couldn't track it, was there. Another one he did drop in the end zone.
That was the moment where this is before the injury, obviously. I was like, well, that's going to be the thing. That's what loses them this game.
And then later on in the first quarter, he hits another deep ball, or he hits his first deep ball to Worthy. He makes a spectacular catch. A fantastic first quarter.
Yeah, that was such a weird game that me watching as a neutral observer who happened to be rooting for Alabama by 28 because that's what I said on this live stream. I was trying to think, like, what can I take away from this game? Like obviously Quinn Ewers is good, the Texas defense is good, but the Bama team just was undisciplined. All the penalties. So is Bama just a mid SEC team now, or is Texas that much improved?
Bama, I think they're missing some offensive pieces. Their receivers are just not great.
They need a Dick State transfer.
They need someone to transfer in from Dick State. Their receiving core is just not the Bama caliber that we're used to, I think. Their lines I think they have a couple of young guys on the offensive line. The Texas D-line played their dicks off. Yeah, Alabama's really, really good. But they're not as good, I think, as we're used to seeing in like the last, 3 to 5 years good. But they're very, very good.
Yeah, I gotta give it up to Bryce Young, who was very mid up until that fourth quarter, and that play that sealed it, where he still don't know how he eluded that rush. Although there was a very, very egregious hold that was missed. That was a sick play.
Man, the penalties were brought up already. Alabama, somewhere like 15 penalties, I think it was, which is like, I think that was the most penalties they've had in like Nick Saban's tenure or something. Like, it was something ridiculous. A lot of penalties
since his first year.
Having said that, they missed several very key ones. That holding call on the Bryce Young scramble, he ran right by the scene of the crime, and it was blatant.
Yeah, that wasn't like an interior play.
That was bad,
on the
and
edge.
the whole like what should have been safety situation, obviously in the end zone, was the whole thing was just mucked up. I don't know what happened there. I don't know how you call targeting, roughing the passer on that, and replay show that Bryce Young's calf was very clearly down before he kind of rolled over on that defensive tackle and threw the ball away. Should have been a safety.
Hold on, let me pause there real quick. So on that safety play, I guess the overarching theme is almost like, well, it was crazy, but they kind of got it right at the end. Like, I don't know why Joel Klatt or somebody in the booth or anybody at that moment wasn't screaming, aside from, I think, Sheen and my group text, other group texts, that even if Bryce Young isn't down, which seemed to be all Joel Klatt was focused on, or all the announcers were focused on, is when you go back and look at it, it definitely wasn't targeting, definitely wasn't roughing the passer, and he wasn't down. But it definitely was intentional grounding, which intentional grounding from the end zone is a safety,
and that,
regardless if he's down.
And
that was very clear.
And that wasn't flagged, and that's not reviewable. You can't review intentional grounding.
You're telling me that a Big 12 crew screwed up?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think that it's easy. I think when you're having the discussion of like, hey, how bad did they mess this up? I think the very immediate thing is like, well, they should have called intentional grounding. Like that never came up in discussion. And so I'm glad that they didn't screw Texas over when they kind of got to the end of it, as bad as they potentially could have. But,
to be fair, within the context of this, I was one of the people who was like, I don't know if they got it wrong. It feels like something really bad for Alabama should have happened there, but I can't point to like a specific thing. It wasn't until after the game when all these like very clear screenshots of his calf being down that I was like, oh, they very clearly got the call wrong. The worst thing about this, though, is that I mentioned Quinn Ewers absolutely balling out in the first quarter. I wasn't a total believer in him until this game, but the way he showed up and played as well as he did against that defense and that environment, I'm a total believer now. And it's just absolutely gut-wrenching that he's going to miss like at least a month of football. I absolutely hate it. It's going to really, slow down his development. In Texas, if Texas, I mean, they got in that time frame, they have Tech and they have in Lubbock, they have the OU game. Those are going to be tough games to win, I think. They got a tough one this weekend, actually, against UTSA.
UTSA is no joke, even if you're at full strength.
And so it looks like Texas is going to play their third-string quarterback, a local guy from Austin High. Who knows what's going to happen, but a game that you should be proud of because Texas played so well. I'm like, this fucking sucks. And so I'm crushed. I am. I can't even hide it. I'm crushed. I'm upset. I don't know what else to say.
A night game versus UTSA. Interesting.
I'm kind of surprised looking at their schedule. Something I mentioned last week with how boring the Big Ten schedule was at the beginning of the year. Like Texas's schedule is almost backwards. Like no other conference is doing a schedule like this where you've got, your biggest 4 games on your calendar really in week 2, 4, 5, and 6. Like I guess Oklahoma State's fairly strong, but like Baylor, whatever. You can say what you want about Baylor, TCU, but in terms of rivalry and all of that, you've got Oklahoma on the road at Tech and Alabama in your first like 5 or 6 weeks. Like for as weak as they talk about the conference being, regardless, like that's just, it sucks for Texas to be missing their quarterback at that time.
I think with a healthy Quinn Ewers, I think Texas is definitely the favorite to win the conference. I feel that way. OU looks.
I don't know what Oklahoma is yet, but yeah,
they struggled first half. Who did they even play? Kent State or something?
Kent State.
They turned it on the second half, but I think the way they played on Saturday, I think Texas would have been. I know this is like sour grapes, but I think Texas would have been the favorite to win the conference. Texas with Quinn Ewers, I think beats Alabama by 2 touchdowns. That's what I believe.
Okay.
The way he was playing.
It would have definitely been.
The offense completely changed when he was out of the game and Card was in.
You got to give Saban some time to make
terrible,
adjustments, though.
Like, Card wasn't as good as Quinn was, but Card wasn't garbage. Like, it wasn't as if you were putting a walk-on out there or anything like that.
The size of the playbook
athlete
shrunk dramatically when Card went in. He can't make a lot of the throws that Quinn Ewers can make. And then when he gets hurt, it's like, all right, now what the – I mean, for Texas to have been there at the end like that was very impressive considering that Card, the number 2 quarterback, was obviously very injured. It sucks, man.
He should have just like taken some perks, rubbed some dirt on it, got out there.
Thank you, Drew. Thank you, Dr. Drew Brees.
Hey, so you mentioned the game in Lubbock. If Tech beats Texas in a few weeks in Lubbock, will they rush the field?
Yeah, they will rush the field. Yeah. I mean, if they beat Texas is ranked 21 now, they do that against the 25th ranked team. Who's what conference is U of H in again?
A very respectable one that produces great athletes and better people.
Houston's a good team. It's a
Right.
good program, but
Who put this on the rundown, by the way? No, yeah, to rush the field when you knock off a non, Power 5 opponent, it's like,
That made no sense.
come on,
Well,
guys.
yeah, and I saw somebody clapping back at you saying like
Oh,
this is
everyone was clapping
somebody
back
said
at
it was
me.
an improbable victory. I was like, you guys literally beat Houston last year.
Wasn't Tech favored in the game?
Tech was the favorite. It wasn't improbable at all.
And
Yeah.
at home. And they should have won that game 4 times before the moment they did. I can buy into the thought of like it was an exciting finish, but they treated this like it was hitting a 3-pointer at the buzzer in basketball. Like this was a great way to end the game, but this wasn't, oh my gosh, the most electric win you could ever imagine. We fought so hard, like Texas A&M and LSU that one year. Take away like the pageantry of the schools or whatnot. Non-conference opponent going 6 overtimes, everybody's exhausted, and they finally win on a big play. Like that would have been a moment where you rush the field regardless of rank. This ain't it.
It was funny. My Tech friends were like, "Why are we doing this?" I'm in a couple group texts, and like one of them was just people, my buddies from high school were like, "This is not good." Didn't realize that they do the preemptive goalpost takedown, just so like
Yes, they do.
so it wasn't like they pulled the goalposts down, which would have been just too much for me to handle. But yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know.
if you disparage Texas Tech on Twitter, you will get replies from
I saw that.
a myriad of characters, most of which are just like anonymous Twitter accounts that have, the Texas Tech logo as their avatar, and it's like Red Raider fan 69 or whatever. And
Hell, that's a fucking dope handle if they've got that.
at one point, I was arguing back and forth with someone that had just like a cactus Abby. It was like
That was
I don't know
actually
what's
my
going on
burner.
here. Some dude was like, I was going back and forth with him, and he's like, "Oh, how about the homeless population in Austin? Like,
Okay.
what are we doing here? Is this
Okay,
really what we're
Greg
going to talk
Abbott.
about right now? You've lost.
Yeah, what about it though?
You've
Dylan?
lost the argument if you're bringing up homeless people in the city that I live in.
What about it though?
Hi.
What do you think should be done?
They moved them out of the city. That was,
Oh my gosh.
I think I will say something nice about them. I really like Joey McGuire. I really like
Yes.
head coach Joey McGuire, who learned how to coach, learned everything he knows from Dave Aranda at Baylor.
Not
has been
during his
announced-
time at Cedar Hill.
Definitely not during his time winning 2 or 3 state championships at Cedar Hill, home of the Longhorns, the other Longhorns, ironically.
right.
No, he's a great coach. They're going to be fine. They're going to compete in a couple years, if not this year.
Texas at Texas Tech, I believe, is a 2:30 kickoff, which benefits
time.
Texas.
Dentist time.
Dentist time, in other words.
That game's going to be like pulling teeth, depending on who's starting for Texas.
Anyway,
Real
hot in here.
quick, I guess before we go there, let's do Nebraska. I mentioned I don't know what Oklahoma is. Glancing at their schedule, you would think you get an idea next week when they play Nebraska. Historic rivalry, a Big 8 rival. This game has been on everybody's calendar from those two fan bases since they planned it 2 or 3 years ago. It's like an anniversary type game. And they fired their coach before the week of all of the events that go into it. You got to think not only did the loss have a lot to do with it and all of the other losses, but not waiting until later and firing him before this week has a lot more to do with how many boosters they're bringing in town for this Oklahoma game, and them just ready for Scott Frost's head to be fucking out of there. So
when you get 2 Midwest teams like this together, you could completely throw out the record books. And I don't care what happened, like who's coaching. When these Big 8 rivals formerly get together, like you mentioned, it's going to be a loco one.
he's so right. Record books.
That's my analysis.
Record books, you're out of here.
I honestly didn't watch any Nebraska, Georgia Southern, Georgia State,
I believe it's Georgia Southern.
Georgia
Featuring
Southern.
Clay Helton.
I followed it, and this is kind of a fun thing to do. I followed it exclusively through Twitter. And every time I would see a Scott Frost tweet, I was like, all right, well, let's check in on the score. Oh, there it is. Okay. Tough, man. He
Yeah.
seems like he's a nice guy, right? Like, he's not an asshole. Or is he?
I think he's an asshole.
Is he? Okay.
I think.
He definitely has. like, there's no part of me that would be shocked if he's not a complete red ass.
Yeah, I have a
And
friend
maybe
who-
not in a bad way, but maybe like in a less likable. I'm gonna say Dan Campbell way. Dan Henry is a Fox 4 News or like.
I have a friend who used to work for him on the Nebraska football team and despises Scott Frost.
Just blink once if it was Eugene.
It's not. No, Eugene's a lobbyist. He's not in. No,
He's a gooser.
yeah, he'll goose you.
Well,
Is that Eugene with the good hair?
Yeah, it's Eugene with the good
I
hair.
really
Great
does.
head of hair on that guy.
He does.
Very
He
solid.
does.
I guess I could talk about, unless we got anything else on
real quick.
Nebraska. Go ahead, KJ.
I do. Who do you think's going to be their head coach?
Bo Pelini?
Because I have an idea. All of the preliminary list, not that I care
Don't
so
say
much
Gary
about who would
P.
be their head coach.
Don't say Gary P.
Urban Meyer.
Except all of the lists Gary Patterson as it makes a lot of sense. However, Matt Campbell, Iowa State's head coach, his name is up there. That seems like somebody who stuck around 1 or 2 years too long, because his name was up for a lot of big jobs. Not that Nebraska's not big, but a lot bigger jobs.
Is
Last
Nebraska
few
a
years,
big
he
job
decided to
these
stick
days?
around.
No, it's impossible to recruit to.
I would say yes, only because you've got a guaranteed sellout, guaranteed invested like fan base with boosters, and you're built into a conference that's about to just print money like the SEC does, like almost more money potentially with their new TV deal. So the resources are there. Whether or not you can bring people to Omaha, who knows? But I mean, it's as big of a brand as any. I would say, like, if you think Florida State's a big job, then Nebraska is.
Man, that would be such a wild move. You have to really like
Corn.
the middle of, I mean, if you go from Iowa State to Nebraska, like that's your scene.
It's corn. How's it go?
So that was good.
It's got the juice.
Gary P's not taking the Nebraska job.
I sure hope not, man.
Gary P's taking Sark's job. There's already a coaching controversy, a brew in Austin, Texas.
No, there's
Completely
not.
ignoring Dillon's neighbor.
Yeah. Shout out Pete Kwiatkowski.
Let's get him on the pod.
Let's go.
No, he shouldn't.
I'm gonna bring him some
Can we
banana
get
bread
the-
and be like, "What's up?"
Can we get the stripper monkey on?
Sigurd?
I don't. He's not a neighbor of mine.
Okay.
Just the DC is.
There was a monkey that did take part in acts of pole dancing.
Yeah, I almost sent y'all on Friday night.
Stripper monkey.
Well, he's doing something.
On Friday night, it looked like Pete was burning the midnight oil. He had lights on at like 12:30. I was like, oh yeah, he's in there just
Dude.
scheming.
You should have rolled over there with a couple Vizzy hard seltzers with a superfruit acerola.
Maybe a
vitamin C.
a thermos of Bing Bong. Hey, let's
Hey, man.
let's get into this.
Hey, I've got this podcast. We've been really checking out this Bama team. I think they've got some holes.
Did you?
I
You
want
should
to help you exploit them.
You should blitz this guy.
That's Dorn, man. Defensive Dordinator. That was stupid.
Yeah, that's not good.
BYU Baylor wasn't good.
Can we
It's
talk?
absolute ass.
Can we get to Texas A&M at some point?
what? I mean,
Oh,
they
yeah,
won.
that was my
easily.
next shift.
They defeated App State.
Oh, you didn't watch? You didn't see it?
What happened? Did I miss something?
Yeah,
There's no way they lost that game.
They lost.
Oh,
yeah, they
shit.
lost to Appalachian State.
That was another one to follow through Twitter, but I did flip it on and I couldn't believe what I was seeing.
Yeah, Jimbo's he's catching heat.
But like they don't have that many resources. So like
I
if
know.
you're A&M, it's
If
not
they-
like you can't recruit 5 stars.
They should recruit better.
Well, yeah, you got to wait till he gets good recruits in there, right? Like they're still waiting on that great class to get there,
And
right?
You got to let him get his guys in there.
This is
man.
what his 5th year at Texas A&M, something like that. Yeah, you can't
50
lose to
million
App
in?
State at home. Can't. You can't do it.
Where was the 12th man?
They should have brought him in. Did you see the?
He should
did
have.
you see the video of the? I can't believe they
Dude, they got to stop posting these videos.
Yell
Yelp.
practice, midnight yell, whatever it's called.
You know what?
Mhm.
It is not right to judge that because that is like a comedian who's working on some new material, just seeing what's going to play. It's not meant for public consumption yet. So therefore, you should not laugh at
Yet they
the
publish it on their
cringeworthy yell
YouTube
leaders.
channel, the official Texas
did they
A&M
really?
YouTube channel. Yeah,
That's- okay,
that's where
well
people
then,
are pulling it from.
That's
and
bad.
since they own the video, they are furiously taking it down. They are like copyright left and right, bringing it. It's getting taken down.
That's a big
all
step
over
for
the
them.
internet.
Because they're acknowledging, like, okay, Like
This is-
there was
this
nothing.
looks bad.
There wasn't anything problematic said, right?
No, I mean they
Other than
referred
it sucked.
while wearing overalls, they referred to Appalachian State as a bunch of hillbillies, which is really funny. And they're basically just
Good point.
dunking on Appalachian State as a university, saying like, "Oh, you don't even know this is a real school," or whatever this shit it was. But
Oof.
more than anything, those guys just look like complete doofuses. That tradition boggles my mind.
I would say Saturday basically put A&M squarely in the position to be like, you're one embarrassing loss away, or dropping 2 games you otherwise should have lost. Like if they lose to LSU this year and lose to Bama, like Jimbo's automatic hot seat at the end of the year. He won't get fired mid-year. They're not, he's recruited too well for that to happen, but that puts him squarely on the hot seat. And then you start wondering, like, if Gary Patterson stays in Texas, because as of right now, I don't see a job opening that fits Gary Patterson in the state of Texas. Like, unless Sark bombs, and I don't think that's happening, Gary P's to Nebraska.
Spav
I need to
leaves
get
Texas
over it.
State.
Okay.
101.
I don't think they have the resources to pay to move his statue from Tarrant County to
101.
Comal County.
Can confirm Gary's
Or
holding
Hays
his own
County, I'm
towel
sorry.
now, KJ.
That's the sad part.
It is
He
sad.
needed a towel and a headset carrier.
How the mighty have fallen.
Well, on A&M real quick, between them and Notre Dame, which fan base do you feel like is waking up more just completely like, what the F did we do? Because you've got 0-3 Notre Dame now. Granted, one's to Ohio State, but another's to Marshall. Also at home.
0-2.
Wait, they played 3 games?
0-2. 0-2. 0-2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they didn't play in Dublin. That was
Well,
Northwestern. I'm sorry.
When you looked at the score of that Ohio State game and how close it was for a lot of the game, it's like, oh shit, dude. Okay, Notre Dame actually living up to some preseason hype. And man, I'm trying to think who's worse. I think Notre Dame's handling it better. Although I'm basing this all on how Mike Golick Jr. is handling it. Like that, I'm assuming he's the voice of the fan base. He's being very like introspective and like, okay, yeah, man, like look, being nice about it. A&M, I think at least Notre Dame has a first-year head coach.
And they lost
God.
their quarterback.
And they lost their quarterback.
A&M has Miami coming up, and then number 10 Arkansas,
Mm.
Mississippi State, and then Alabama. They could be 2-4 very easily.
That Notre
Yeah.
Dame backup was
Very
really
easy.
bad. I felt bad. Like
Notre Dame
that final
starter is
interception
really bad.
was really bad.
On A&M, yeah, you were talking about like who they played and how they looked. So A&M remained ranked after losing to App State at home. And I think the only way people are justifying this is that App State hung close with North Carolina. And so they're like, oh, well, App State's a decent team, and they're decent. And they're led by country music artist Chase Bryce at quarterback. Like, they're giving App State credit in order to keep A&M in the rankings, which makes no fucking sense to me. Because Notre Dame's not ranked anymore. And they hung in there
Dude.
with Ohio State.
Notre Dame's schedule is no joke. They got
That's historically them.
I think
Yeah.
the KJ, I saw this earlier. I think the drop from 6 to 24 was like an unprecedented like number of spaces to drop week over week. So
Got it.
yeah, it's still
Notre
they
Dame must have
dropped
been
a
like 10 or
significant-
something
Yeah,
this week before they dropped out, I guess.
yeah.
But in App State, like we're saying they're good because they hung with North Carolina. David, what was your big boy stack again this
All
week?
right.
I'm not
It's
trying
the
to
over.
throw shade at
It's
you,
the
but it was that
UNC
like
over.
North Carolina's
Their
just not that
defense-
good.
Their defense is atrocious.
Yeah, they played Georgia,
State.
which the other one, State. Yeah, Georgia State, and damn near lost to them. So
Yeah, it was bad. They had that game in hand.
I just don't think using North Carolina to prop up
Yeah.
App State to prop up A&M makes sense to me. But anyways, I digress.
Hey, it's good
That's
for
enough.
college football, man. We got to keep them in the mix, keep them engaged. Yeah. Notre Dame's got BYU in a couple weeks. They got Cal, UNC. Oh, there you go. Notre Dame,
North
UNC.
Carolina.
There's your fun.
That'll settle it all.
That'll really will.
Anything on game day before we move over?
No. I realized something. I don't think I actually like game day. I don't actually like watching it. we talked about this a little bit. That do you watch game day because it's quality, or just because you don't want to miss out on what everybody on Twitter's talking about? And for me, it's definitely the latter because there's nothing on there outside of like seeing what's his name, Glenn Powell, that I cared about. I just wanted to see if Glenn Powell had personality. I don't know much about him outside of top
Game
number
day is
two.
cool because of where they do it. It's cool to see different campuses and the students show up and the signs and all that. And every now and then they'll have a fun guest picker. That's it. The
Yeah,
content is just like any other pregame show.
yeah.
I agree. Did they add the concert this year? Is that new? Because they had Jack Harlow performing last week. I didn't see this week's to see if they had anybody.
Oh, I don't know.
It was
I
I also
Glenn
was not
Powell.
aware
didn't even
that-
catch that.
Glenn Powell did Great Balls of Fire.
I also was not aware that what's his name? Chris Del Conte is doing the Austin City Limits or whatever it is, Longhorn City Limits there in Austin. So they're like doing a full-fledged like concert on game days.
That's been a
Oh.
Chris Del Conte initiative.
Flow Rida was the post game entertainment after the Alabama game.
I don't hate it.
Yeah, sick.
Boots
He's
with
got-
the Spurs.
He's got haters, Dave. You know that.
He
SMU
does.
had Josh Abbott for our game against Lamar.
You ain't met my
Doesn't
Texas
seem like a
yet.
balance.
Yeah, I don't know. Any McAfee thoughts? I thought it was a little. They don't have the chemistry yet. They were kind of just letting him cook, and they didn't really know how to react to him. Maybe it'll get better. He's got bits. You could see him wanting to do more bits, but he didn't want to max it all out week one.
The other guys looked a little annoyed with him.
I thought so too.
Like at one
Good.
point, I always forget his name. The guy from the
Herbie?
No, the guy from Georgia, David
Oh, Pollock.
Pollock. At one point, McAfee was just being his obnoxious self. Pollock was just looking at him like, I have to deal with this motherfucker every week during college football season.
Yeah.
They're similar age. I imagine that. I would guarantee McAfee's the kind of guy where he's been big enough on his own to where in environments like that, he's probably rolling in there a little bit more prima donna or a little bit more like, I need this, this, and this. Whereas the rest of them work as like a crew or a team where they have their roles. So we'll see how that fits. I'm really not even happy that like I kind of expected this to happen because I don't think they announced this beforehand. But ever since he jumped off that RV at that Baylor game a year or two ago, I felt like they were like, yeah, we need more McAfee around here.
It all goes back to Baylor. Ruining everything.
How bad was that game? Because BYU's hard to watch in general because they, grind games out. But when you're watching it at midnight,
Yeah, it was
against
really
Baylor?
bad. It was really bad because Jeff Grimes, who used to be at BYU, who's now calling plays at Baylor, his game plan was clearly like, we're going to run the ball and we're going to keep running it until their defense breaks down and we're going to pop a couple big runs. And it was effective at times, but in the fourth quarter, and it's like 12:30 Central Time, and I'm watching it. You've got the ball driving tie game with the chance to win the game essentially, and you're going run after run, and it doesn't bode well for the quarterback, Blake Shapen, who beat out the kid who helped win you the Big 12 last year, Gary Bohannon, who's now at South Florida.
Yeah.
He transferred because he lost the starting job, and now they've got Shapen back there who I don't know if they trust him. I don't know if he was compromised and we didn't know it, but they weren't letting him throw the ball. And that's kind of a key part of Baylor's offense and what will keep them relevant in the Big 12. But it was ugly. You had Baylor's kicker missed an extra point, missed a field goal. The BYU kicker missed a game-winning field goal in regulation and then one in overtime. It was horrendous. It was one of those games where if it had been like at a normal time, it would have been so bad that it was fun. But the fact that it was so bad and I went to bed at 1:15 or 1:30, I was just mad.
I tried so hard to stay up, but I started.
I'm
drinking
happy that you didn't.
At like 11:30, and I just couldn't do it.
I'm happy you didn't waste
so
your
hard.
time. But Baylor, I don't know, man. They look like a middle of the pack Big 12 team. So I am now tampering my expectations.
Okay.
That's my real-time analysis.
Okay.
Anybody watch Florida, Kentucky?
I did
Florida
not.
won. They were 12th ranked overall. They're great. Florida's a fucking juggernaut. Respect them.
I don't know if you saw it, KJ. They did not win.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
I should even act like I'm like trying to hate on Florida. It's just my annoyance with the stupidity of this rankings. I need to stop looking at them.
One of y'all called it. One of y'all are like, is
I
this
picked
Florida?
against them.
Yeah, I think you said it on the stream. Like, they're coming in way too high after beating Utah, which was a good win, no doubt. But everybody was giving, like, there was a lot of Heisman talk around Anthony Richardson, who I do like, but man, he came back down to earth in a big way.
Yeah, it just means more in the SEC. Blah blah blah. Games are too hard, and now Kentucky's like top 10, top 8, and so when Georgia beats them, they're like, "Look how stacked Georgia is." Like, I didn't need to see this to know that. Not saying that Kentucky's not great or good, but in my head, still 15 to 20 in the nation.
Yeah. That's all I got, except for, hey, USC, still really, really fun to watch. Really fun.
USC?
Haven't checked in yet.
Yeah. Their offense is very, very good.
Yeah.
Their defense is very, very
They're
mid.
cooking.
They remind me of like an old school, like I guess last decade, good Big 12 team. Like that has weapons everywhere. Defense will give up some points on you. Maybe like an old Baylor team or like, I don't know, old Tech team or something. But they were
Keep an eye out on
it's a
this
real-
year's OK State team.
real shame that Caleb Williams left OU.
my God, to go play with the Bolitnikov winner must be nice.
Mm-hmm.
You know what else must be nice?
Getting your beak wet with DraftKings.
That's exactly right. The football season is kicked off. Teams are celebrating their first wins of the season, while others are revisiting their game plan. Whether your team won or lost in Week 1, DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, is giving you a shot at an easy W. New customers, all you have to do is bet $5 on any NFL wager, and you will instantly receive $200 in free bets. That's right, DraftKings is giving all new customers $200 in free bets when they place any $5 or more wager on their football team of their choosing. Plus, with same-game parlays, you can combine multiple bets from the same game to give yourself a shot at even bigger winnings all season long. For those in a state where sports betting is not yet available, don't forget about DraftKings Daily Fantasy, where they've been innovating even more ways to win some cash this football season. DraftKings has been around for a while, so you know your funds are safe and can be withdrawn whenever or wherever you want. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. New customers use promo code WASHED and receive $200 in free bets instantly when placing a $5 wager. That's promo code WASHED only at the DraftKings Sportsbook. See details in the show notes for more. You want to just jump right into NFL?
Let's do it, Dave.
Dillon, man, did you have anything really upsetting happen to you? Maybe last night?
I did mention that my teams, 2 of them, lost 3 quarterbacks total. Looks like Dakota Prescott needs surgery on his throwing hand. Of course, that's long for Dak.
Yeah.
An ugly game.
6 to 8 weeks.
The Cowboys' defense looked pretty good.
Looked good in the first half, kept him in it. Looked good, bend, not break.
The Cowboys' offense looked like they didn't want to be there, basically.
It's almost like they got rid of their number 1 receiver for a 5th-round pick and let a couple key offensive linemen go.
Right.
It's almost like that. No, this is what everybody was saying. Everybody was worried about the offense. People said the defense will probably be about where they were. Maybe they'll regress a little bit because they were so good last year. But the offense, a lot of people are patting themselves on the back because they called it, because they were abysmal.
It looked tough. And granted, that is a good defense. I think that's a good defense anyway.
I sure hope so, because they looked dominant, man.
They
and
did.
Ended up biting them in the ass as Dak in the 4th quarter ligament issue. What did it? Was it break, tear? No.
All
don't
I
know.
saw was
smoked
that
it on a helmet.
Jerry Jones, of all people, announced that he needs hand surgery. That's all I've seen. So he's expected to be out for a little bit.
6 to 8.
6 to 8 weeks.
He'll be out longer than Quinn.
6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah, they're thinking bye week, after the bye week.
Ugh.
Yeah, it's not good.
I mean, honestly, Cooper Rush is a suitable backup. I mean, he was KJ. He was moving the ball as well as Dak was.
That is facts. And hey, man, if they're gonna pound it to Zeke like Jerry said they were, then maybe this isn't that big of a deal. I think doing that only wins you maybe 6 or 7 games. But no, I want the Will Greer show. I want to say let's go with the
QB3?
youth. Is he not QB? They re-signed him to the practice squad. I thought
I don't
maybe
know.
he's.
I had no idea.
I would rather see what a Will Greer has than a Cooper Rush, because I'm already saying, like, dude, the chances of them like treading water while he's out, given the state of the O line, it's bad, and the fact that they're running. I mean, how many of those receivers can you name?
How long is Gallup out?
He might be back
They
next
won't
week,
say.
Okay.
week or two.
I
think.
mean,
I can name Noah.
he got
Brown.
hurt in November.
CD, of course. It is Noah, right?
Yeah, no.
There you go.
Dennis Houston, undrafted free agent.
Sure, him too.
Yeah, KJ, you're not familiar with his work?
I was going to say Tolbert.
Not
Fiocco.
active for some reason. Your
Well,
third
but
round.
I'm saying as far as
I
like
know.
other wide receivers, but I don't know why he wasn't active.
It's insane. I don't know if they've released some kind of injury, but he was not active and he wasn't on the injury report. And that's your third round pick. So,
The only team that has a loss of their next 5 games are the LA Rams.
The defending Super Bowl
However,
champions.
They do face all 3 of their division mates, which I don't know if you want to say that's a good thing or a bad thing, as they were all 1-0. Commanders beating the Jaguars. Didn't watch a ton of it. 1-0 Carson Wentz. Enjoy it. The Giants sneaking out that win by going for 2 instead of playing to go into overtime.
love to see
It's
it.
a good look for Brian Dable.
Yeah.
Or Dable, whatever. And I owe a huge apology. I think I'm probably a year and a couple weeks overdue on this. But when Nick Sirianni got hired by Philadelphia, I thought it was the biggest joke of all jokes. Not just because of like the Eric Bieniemy like ties to not getting a job, but for him relative to any coach getting a job in that cycle, it's like, who the F is Nick Sirianni? And the dude has a plan. He may not be the best in press conferences, the all-time worst intro press conference, if we remember. But he at least has an identity of what he wants his teams to look like and do. And they've delivered on running the ball and using Jalen freaking Hurts in a productive way and bringing in A.J. Brown and getting production out of him. Like, shouts to the Eagles.
It is
I
their
don't know what
division to
Jordan
lose.
Davis do. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, the Cowboys, I don't want to belabor it. I think moments like this is when I'm happy that Micah has to respect any physical changes for the better that Mike McCarthy may have underwent, because otherwise my brain would only be filled with what Micah would say about this game, starting with Mike McCarthy on the sideline.
I was expecting a
But-
voicemail from Micah.
We do have to give Micah credit. He's hated Mike McCarthy since day one.
Yeah.
Since
He's
day
crowd-
one.
crowd
McCarthy
full.
showed up with skins on the wall, and you can blame Jerry, you can blame anything you want, you can blame injuries, but last night looked like a team with no plan.
That is true. That is true. And he is now calling plays with Kellen Moore, right? Like it's a collaborative effort. So I don't know. I tend to go up to the top, like you mentioned, to the Jerry Jones suite. And that's why I have trouble getting mad at any coach, except for Garrett, because I think Garrett had some really, really good rosters that he did really nothing with. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't look good. And now, does this buy McCarthy another year? I don't know. Does Sean Payton win that game last night? I don't think so. Not with that personnel. I don't think anybody does, because they were outmatched. And Dak sucked before he even got injured. Dak missed so many throws. Like,
Yeah.
he was bad. And he had 2 or 3 other balls that should have been intercepted, or could have been at least. So,
Ugh.
There was one he threw poorly that you can't even blame on injury or anything. The one he threw behind Noah Brown while he's running.
Yeah,
Like,
that's-
it was
yeah,
just
that was the
all
worst one.
around like junior high level technique. Like, I was not a good quarterback. I am not even like going to bring it down to that level, but like at bare minimum, you understand that like the ball's going to end up where your feet are pointing, or you're going to overcompensate tremendously. And the wide receiver was running the same direction as him, and somehow he still threw it behind him. They're both running left, and he still put it to the right of the receiver. It made no sense.
And
he wasn't like under such duress to where like he was getting hit as he threw the ball.
No.
It was really, really embarrassing.
That had big play potential too. Dak might just be a dude who, if his line, like, okay, so his stats last year, under pressure, his completion rate, I don't know if it was the highest, but it was up there. Very, very high completion rate while pressured. It doesn't make any sense because he looked absolutely shook last night from like the get-go. And I don't know if he didn't get enough reps in the preseason. I'm kind of a don't care about the preseason guy myself, famously. But he looked deer in headlights a lot of times, and that's not good for your franchise quarterback, especially when Connor McGovern goes down in the first quarter with a high ankle sprain, if not worse. I don't even know what it was, but he's out for a while. So not a good time in Dallas, but shout out to the rest of the NFC East for going 3-0.
I don't want to dive too much in the NFC West, but I did think it was notable that what's been looked at as one of the stronger divisions over the last handful of years, Niners, Rams, and who am I missing? Cardinals, all looked very bad. Not only lost, but they all looked very, very bad. The Broncos play tonight against I don't know why my brain's drawing a blank, the Seahawks for the first of, or I guess the third of 3 quarterback reunion games, because we also had Baker as we're getting put in here. But yeah, I don't know if anything's going to change with how that shakes out. Why it matters is if you're a Cowboys fan or a Packers fan or a Niners fan, if the NFC West is down, that's tremendous news, because the Vikings looked incredible under first-year coach Kevin O'Connell yesterday. I don't know who else is going to look strong. Maybe Jameis and the Saints. Maybe the Bucks are for real. But, like, you can be bad and get into the playoffs this year if the NFC East isn't, like, serious.
Yeah.
That's my thought.
That's facts, man.
You want to talk about your boy Baker?
Yeah,
I mean, he got better.
I
Wasn't
added
a
this
great
note
quarter.
in here real quick just to point out that Baker Mayfield and his Panthers lost to the Browns behind Jacoby Brissett.
At home, too, right?
At home, yeah.
First-
Obviously a game that he had circled on his calendar, I think, Dave.
You know, I'm not willing to say this is going to be a failure, but I don't know, man. This might be it for the Baker and Matt Rule combo.
I was about to say, do either of those two return to Carolina next year?
I think it's very unlikely.
Hmm.
Maybe Matt Rule goes to Nebraska. That's a name you got to start thinking about.
Oh, God.
That's not a terrible thought. It's not a terrible thought. I hadn't thought about NFL candidates for that role.
He could take a year.
Real
He's the
quick,
kind
also,
of guy who could do some analyst work too, like on TV. He's really good on TV, so he would definitely be a take a year off guy. Matt Rule, he's good.
put on a trench coat and a backwards hat. Comedies featuring Ben Affleck at times.
Okay,
That's just me saying he looks like Kevin Smith every
he
time
does.
I look
That's
at
fair.
him. Lovie Smith playing Detai, questionable, especially in a role where I assume he has more job security than whoever it was they fired after 1 year last year. But man, I feel like that's a team where you've got nothing to lose and every opportunity to get a win, but whatever. And nobody cares, but I was going to throw Joe Flacco on the list of quarterbacks that played their former team.
No,
Rightfully so again. Nobody cares.
Hey, Flacco, man, come on. I watched the Texans Colts game because that was one of 2 games that it was on in my household. And Davis Mills, not terrible, not great, but I think he's good enough. The Texans defense looks good. Jalen Petrie. Lovie Smith going, like you just said, playing for the tie, like being cool with the tie. That's insane to me in a team that's not, there's nothing expected from them. Most people think they're going to be one of the 3 worst teams in the AFC. dude, go set like I don't know if it's like a culture defining moment, but like you saw what happened in New York. We talked about earlier when they went for
Mhm.
2. I don't know. I don't know how much to make of that. Like, hey, gets the team, everybody together. You're going for it. You're creating a winning culture, even if it backfires. It doesn't matter. But I thought that was weak. I love
I
a
mean,
good week 1 tie. Though.
the funny thing about it, if you're a Colts fan, is last year having a tie on the record is what fucked the Colts out of playoffs because they ended up losing the game to the Jags at the end of the season, and they had a tie on their record, and that tie is what kept them half a game back of Pittsburgh, I believe.
Yeah,
No,
that sounds right.
but Pittsburgh went to the playoffs, I think, and lost in the first round.
All I know is
embarrassingly bad.
Carson Wentz was awful in that game.
But yeah, he got embarrassed by the Jags, and that kept what everybody was expecting to be a playoff team out of the playoffs, and sent Ben Roethlisberger into one more game in the playoffs. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. Pittsburgh made the playoffs. So yeah, anyhow, let's party.
Good stuff. Time to party. Let's party. I don't know if y'all followed the Sergio Garcia storyline over the weekend, but
Definitely, totally.
you were all over it, KJ. You're a golf guy. You're a dimple head or whatever. I don't know. What do you call guys like us, man? We just love the game. So you remember he had that whole thing where he said, I'm gonna quit the DP World Tour, which is formerly the Euro Tour, because I don't feel the love, blah blah blah. Then he went back on it. This is after he went to live. He's like, no, I'll play some DP events. So he's in the BMW PGA, or the BMW Wentworth, whatever it was. He
you know what he told him before he arrived, right? He was like, "Hey, I told you I wasn't going to be there, but actually,
I'm gonna come."
Okay.
That's what
come
Sergio
on,
said,
man.
reportedly."
Well, I guess exactly.
This is so Sergio. Shoots 76.
What was his reason for withdrawing?
Queen dies. They cancel Friday. No, not related, by the way. I don't think she saw that scorecard and that's what did her in.
Right.
But got to check the timestamps on that. So he withdrew Thursday. I don't think he gave a reason, and pops up in Austin on the field, Texas, Alabama.
Wait, was this a PGA event?
I'm very confused.
No.
I am too.
I said it was PGA, but it was the BMW event.
It's a DP World Tour.
in
Okay.
in Europe somewhere. But whatever DP stands for. I genuinely
Dude,
do not know.
perfect. They're doing golf now.
Was there also a PGA?
But Shane Lowry won.
Was there also a PGA event over the weekend?
Oh, you know what? No, confusingly, BMW PGA
What's the
Championship, the PGA European Tour is an organization. Whatever. Fuck off, Dave. All that matters is Sergio's a dickhead. There were guys who were on the cusp of losing their card that had Sergio just, not played the tournament, would have been in. One of John Rahm's buddies. And it just looks really bad.
No, F that. I don't owe y'all anything.
To
choose
bail
play or not.
after
Like,
bail.
1 day.
I agree, but I don't think that he should be like, you know what? I really need to nut it out because there's some other guys waiting to get their card.
I guess
Like that
I
shouldn't
kinda
go through
respect
your
it.
train of thoughts.
So
I guess I respect how big of a dickhead he can be.
did he withdraw just so he could show up to the Texas Alabama game and get sideline passes and all that? Is that why?
I mean, I don't think he said that, but it sure seems like it.
Yeah, he was there.
Which I get.
You
It
can't
was
say
lit.
that it didn't factor in.
The city was lit.
Scheffler was there too.
Scheffler was there, which he's been pretty firmly anti-live. So I was wondering how that conversation went.
Yeah.
He hates those dirty lives. That's my new word for it.
What else? Oh, Nate Diaz. Shout out to Nate Diaz. Defeats Tony Ferguson. UFC card. Yep, had to go on the lappy. I was dual monitor guy while Baylor BYU happened.
That's sick.
Probably his last fight in the UFC, excuse me. Good fight. Tony Ferguson's washed. Nate's pretty much washed. Whatever. Those guys should have fought a long time ago. Decent card. Not great, but it happened.
I'm very happy I was not aware that there were a bunch of other clown fights going on this weekend. Adrian Peterson and Le'Veon Bell fought.
Yeah, poorly marketed because I didn't know about it until a former GOAT, Adrian Peterson, was knocked out by Le'Veon Bell
Saw that.
in a sentence I don't think any
He
of us
caught him.
thought we'd utter.
Caught him pretty good.
Yeah.
Swaggy P fought an actual fighter.
Oh,
Got
did he?
knocked out of the ring. I don't
Okay.
know who it was, but I'm fairly sure who he fought was an actual boxer. But yeah, took a shot and fell through the ropes.
There's got to be another way for these guys to have careers outside of like going and boxing because it's just so bad. It's so bad.
Yeah,
Nobody wants to see
I
AP
feel like
knocked
they-
out. Well,
Seriously.
well, child advocates maybe.
Oh, come
Dillon,
on.
were you aware that Roger Clemens gave birth to children, one of which who is currently pitching in the major leagues?
Yeah, he played for the University of Texas. He does not
figured
pitch.
you would know.
He does not pitch, actually.
The one I know of pitched because he got his first strikeout.
He's an outfielder.
Maybe he was a position player who was just pitching in that game.
He's an outfielder, and he got to pitch because I think the game was out of hand, and he was just kind of just floating him up there. But yeah, he caught Ohtani looking, and then signed the ball for him after the game, which is pretty cool. Yeah.
I love those stories. And we got a little bit of it. I don't know what was said on the hot mic with Micah Parsons and Tom Brady, but anytime you get rookie, or younger player and then bona fide, just absolute all-star, and Ohtani deserves that same level of respect in the league. Like, I don't hate the move. Like, Luka, I believe, got, like, doing a jersey swap with LeBron and KD. Like, let those people live. Aaron Judge, 55 dingers, on pace for 62 to 63, maybe a few more. But, more importantly, baseball exists.
You're tracking it for us, KJ. You're doing a heck of a job.
Playoffs pretty soon.
I'm sure. If there are a lot of rule changes, can't defensive shift. Maybe we won't even fucking play playoffs. Ruining the game.
What else? I think that covers everything.
Whatever.
I don't.
Nobody
by the
cares
way,
about Nick DeVries.
Just
Big-
want to
big
say,
name, big deal.
Is he related to Will DeFreeze?
no.
He's a
I don't
good-looking
think
guy.
so.
That's really the only reason I read the story, because it's Nick with the Y.
You telling me there's a heartthrob F1 driver?
Yeah,
Is he
good
hot?
Point.
Big for our short kings.
Cool.
I assume they're all short kings. They seem like it.
He's
All
no
right.
George Russell, but he's a fucking good-looking dude.
Is it
Dillon,
time?
I think it's time.
Let's run it back. Sorry, I'm trying out new voices for run it back. The segment during which we talk about what we already talked about. Dillon's office TV is a surprising 42 inches. Quinn is a star. Dillon is sad. Sorry. Tech fans will reply when you go at them on the TL, even going after your city's homeless population. I learned over the
Yeah,
weekend.
man. What are we gonna do about that?
Cooper Rush is our guy now, for better or worse. Micah has always hated Mike McCarthy. All credit goes to him. Baker Mayfield still stinks. Chip on his shoulder gets even bigger. And finally, I have a question. Now that football season is upon us, how much time you guys living with families and wives, how much time during the day on Saturday and Sunday are you allotted for football watching?
KJ, let you go first.
I have a rather busy few weeks ahead, including a trip back to Texas. So I've used all of those upcoming events as like full carte blanche. Is like Saturday, Sunday, the last couple of weeks, it's been 4 to 6 hours. I'm not sitting there, in position watching that entire time, but it's on all day.
Okay.
So I'm at least watching 1.5 full games worth, whatever that time period is.
Okay.
Saturday, all day.
Yeah.
Alyssa had to run some errands in the afternoon. I stayed home with Rhodes. It was great. I watched it up until the only other thing I watched that day was UFC, and I watched it concurrently with the Baylor game. Sunday, and I don't really care about this because I can't sit down and just watch NFL football all day. I think it's just subpar, especially after a full day of doing college. The product is just subpar in my opinion.
Yeah.
But it helped that I did a brunch with the family. We did a little dim sum brunch. Bought me some time. Watched probably why I watched Texans Colts because I didn't have anything else to do, and Alyssa was cool with it. So I watched that and then did some stuff around the house, did some laundry, and then watched the Cowboy game. But I can't tell you how much I don't like watching NFL all day.
This dude's had 2 dim sum brunches in 1 calendar year.
I know.
Nobody is doing
Yeah,
that.
you don't see that
Yeah,
anywhere.
from a guy who just learned what a dim sum brunch was on Dillon's bachelor party.
The reason I'm asking, I mean, Bay has been very cool. Let me do my thing. But as you know, this is my first, like, I haven't been married in a long time, right? This is my first college or football season well, I have been married before, but as a married man, it's been a while. I'm trying to, like, figure out, like, how much time does she get on a Saturday, versus just
Looking
playing my ass
back,
in front of a TV.
we all complained about the 11 o'clock kick for that Texas and Alabama game. It worked out tremendously. Not only was the crowd still there and live, but having that to start that day, and then you could check in or not with any of the games the rest of the day and be okay with it and be completely done with college football as far as like dedicated watching. That was nice. And then you didn't have Cowboys until Sunday night.
Yeah.
I prefer to kind of have where I'm like, okay, I know what one big game I'm going to want to make sure I'm available for. If it's an SMU game or whatever, like whatever. And then I kind of just work around that. But I don't have the luxury of being like, yeah, noon to 8 p.m. locked in, unless it's, the witching hour, of course, on Sundays.
That changes things.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Very cool.
It's a valid question.
That's right.
Okay. Oh, we got Russ tonight, man.
Oh, that's right.
Is he going to cook?
Right.
I hope he doesn't, because I'm going against him in fantasy football, and it is close.
Oh, I already took the L. Very cool. Team's going to suck.
Thursday night, 6:30, youtube.com/toomuchdip.
Special
Go,
guest.
like,
potential.
subscribe, put it on your calendar. A special guest who will be named
We
while
got
the show is airing.
KJ. We haven't talked about it, but we got some stuff in the works. So just look out.
Guess what? It grows the economy, benefits everybody,
Oh, my God.
hurts nobody.
The drops are back.
It's been a minute since I've heard that one.
See you Thursday.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
I want my chips with the dip. That's all I know. I don't want my chips plain. I want my chips with the dip. So bring them dips.